Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Conversations with Masters on Aging at a Time of Consciousness. This is part 4 of our 4-part series. This series is about an intention to begin to reframe the conversation around aging. It is the intention of those on the call for each of these calls on this 4-part series to be used to the highest purpose and the highest perspective of everyone here and for those who will listen in the future. All of us here are Enlightened Masters who agree to be on this call to begin a new conversation about aging at a time of consciousness. We're not saying we have all the answers yet, but we are interested in starting a new conversation, a paradigm shift, a new higher perspective around our human agreement around aging and what that means or what that does not mean. Okay. You could seek out most of these masters who are participating in these 4-part series calls. They all have special gifts. Some of them do offer their services, which you may wish to learn more about. The topic for this part 4 of our 4-part series today is intentions, affirmations, techniques, new trends, rejuvenation, genetic code downloads, etc. Basically, we're looking at any new and maybe not yet realized and perhaps seemingly fantastic possibilities around aging in the time of consciousness. Is it just as easy? Is it just as easy as choosing differently during this time of the consciousness in heaven on earth? Or is there some other possibilities for us that we know of now and we might be coming in the future? Also, you might want to look out for a weekly podcast that is coming soon, which is a more in-depth conversation one-on-one with masters, which will also have a weekly channeled message. So let's go ahead and get started. So I know, Mandy, you had something we had brought up before, Anna, Grandmother Jesus. And I know that you had something that you were going to share with us this week about how she used that and she looked like she was 30 when she lived to be 100 or 800, I think, something like that, correct?
Yeah, for sure. So I went through a program. This was a couple of, I don't know, maybe in the last 6 months or so. And this was channeled by Mary Magdalene. Michaela Sheldon is who actually hosted this program. So she channeled Mary Magdalene through this. It was pretty fascinating. It was a process of, which I think what's really cool as we talk about this regeneration, what came through was that we have it all within us already. And that, it was a matter of just using our own life force energy and being able to in this case, this was a channeling of that life force energy up through the chakra system. And then it actually, as it hit the crown, spilled over into the, our outside, our other bodies. And it also made reference of a few, what is kind of referenced as technologies that we have kind of laid dormant. One is called this etheric rim. It's a very small piece, of the outer kind of technology of us that has been suppressed for many years. And now it's starting to come back online, but it's the piece that also aids in regeneration of the body. And so anyway, it was a fairly kind of detailed process. I say that, but not really. I mean, it was literally just breathing like the life force energy up through us, through the chakra system, and allowing it to just kind of spill over into all of our bodies. And again, I just found that whole process so fascinating because of how simple that it is. And it's not something that has to be done all the time. And even Troy could probably even maybe shed some light on this. Even in the book, Anna, the Grandmother of Jesus, she even talked that because she had run energy through her body for so long that when it was time when she knew that it was about time to begin the transition process, it took a little while, like for the body to because she was so accustomed to running that energy through that it took a little while for the body to just, kind of get out of that. I don't know if that's probably not the right way to say that, but it's not at all the right way.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Release.
But I found that, yes, thank you.
Release the body.
Yes, thank you. So anyway, I just found that it was so simple that it is within us. And that to me is the most empowering and exciting part, is that we have all this technology within us. Some of it may be dormant. And I think that's through this process that we'll be starting to activate it and turn it on. And again, that's the beauty of what we're stepping into. I can share there's a few other things that I've
Yeah, I'd
played
love for you
around with.
to. In the meantime, I'm going to try to get Troy. He needs me to do something so I can get him on video. So
I find that now, many of the like, at least from a technology perspective, there's a lot around consciousness that seems to be coming up. So, for example, the Healy, if anybody is kind of tapped into the Healy tool, the Healy is a microcurrent frequency device. It's like a little, I have it. It is like, for those who have seen it, it looks like this, and you have like little wristbands that you wear, but it basically is able to use, universal, it's able to use the consciousness field, and it's able to tap into your energy stream, your energy imprint, and able to assess any areas in the body that are out of balance. It then provides, through this technology, a microcurrent frequency to harmonize the body. So it's really all about this harmonization of the body. And I'm finding that there's sound technology that's doing the same thing, using sounds, frequencies to harmonize the body. And I mean, and I would say all of this is ancient technology that is just kind of coming back up again for us to use, maybe in new ways. This isn't new to be using sound technology for healing or microcurrent frequency. It's all using this field of consciousness. But I just find that fascinating. And Fluffy, FLFE.net, for those that have used that. Sarah Landon actually is the one who suggested and recommended that. And it's amazing. It's really awesome too. It's about, how can you raise the consciousness field of your homes and your property. And it's an amazing technology as well. What's so unique about these technologies is it's mostly unseen, but that's really cool. That's where we're going to, I feel like, sometimes, and others will start to get on board with that in time, of course. But yeah, so those are just a few of the things I've been playing with for the last, I don't know, maybe year. I've been using the Healy for about a year and a half.
How do you spell that? H-E-L-I?
Healy. Healy.
Like healing with a Y. Okay.
Yeah. Just a little Healy device. And and then the Fluffy, and so I say Fluffy, it's FLFE, Focused Life Force Energy.net. But yeah, so anyway, those are just a few things. It is a very fun time with technology. I think we're just on the brink of so many new and exciting things coming up.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've been playing with some of those?
Oh yeah, for like a year and a half to 2 years now. Yeah.
So have you noticed?
I have. I love the FLFE, the Fluffy. That's just something that is reoccurring, and I do notice a difference in that. But now it's just such a part of when I first got it and started using it. I did notice a difference. I noticed when I started using that, everybody in the house started to like mellow out. It was just, there was just a calmness almost, because it's bringing the energy up. It's raising the consciousness of your household, your kids. So I noticed that everything was a bit more peaceful. With the Healy, I find that here's what all this is doing. All this is just teaching, like helping me to remember how to do this myself. I'm sure you guys probably all, like, it's just helping me to understand the consciousness field and how to work with it. I don't know that I even necessarily need this anymore. I mean, it's very helpful, but really it's just
shifting your focus. I think she froze for a minute. But I think and I agree with what Mandy said, it's not that we have to have different techniques. We do have capabilities, but I like that it's a reminder. It's just like when you start a new mantra and your body and you don't necessarily buy into it, but the more you say, you start, there she is, she's back on. You buy into it. I think I love that it's a reminder. So. That's great. And just one other thing I want to ask you too, when you were talking about specifically the energy coming up, you're talking about is coming up from like, the core from Gaia. I guess it could also come down too, right? Or both.
And that particular practice, that one was coming up through the core of the earth, up through, in that particular practice, and spilling over. And
okay. I think we lost you. Mandy, I'm going to go ahead and go to Blissa, and when you come back on, you'll pop back on. I know you're in a place where sometimes you don't have, so hopefully you'll be able to.
Any differences from that?
There you go.
Oh,
No, that's okay. You're just your internet is a little bit, like you said, the longer you go, because you're in a place where it's not great. So sometimes so just at the very end. So I'll go to Blissa, and as your internet catches up, we'll come back to you. And by the way, Troy has just Troy's with us. He's just we're not able to get him on actual video right now, but he is with us. So yes, Blissa.
But I wanted to say I started reading Anna, Grandmother of Jesus, by the recommendation of the group. It sounded like something that many of you were really enjoying. And I had even considered reading, I'm right at the point in the book where she gives two very simple techniques to work with to build that energy flow. And also that as you know, what Mandy was saying, also with the technology piece, I would say that I'm one who would shy away from technology in a certain level, but with the encouragement of the council, I feel, more open. And I see that through these last, 20 months or so, that through technology, we're creating things like this, where our lives are growing and we're expanding through technology. So both of those pieces have been profound. One of my experiences as I was reading this incredible book and hearing about all of the initiations that each one of these ascended masters went through, there was this sense inside me, like, wow, I know I've been through my own initiations, but there was maybe a little bit of like fear or lack, like how will I'm certainly not going to necessarily get to go into the Great Pyramid and do an incredible embodiment of ascension. However, I started to receive counsel myself, for guidance that it's much like what I've experienced, where I've spent many years doing my own personal work and worked through a lot of trauma and limiting beliefs, and to come to this place of really loving myself. And for me, that has been a long journey. And yet I know that now and in the coming years, this journey the potential is that it is so much shorter, and that it could even be that people were experiencing almost spontaneous shifts in awakening and in coming into that ascension journey. And so I kind of had that acknowledgement within myself of, oh, so what they did 2,000 years ago was so deep and so in depth to get to that point of being able to flow that life force energy, being able to be in resonance. And what I've done has taken me many years to be able to experience that. And I do want to share one experience that I had that I was guided to share with you about that. But I know that is now, living, for instance, in Mount Shasta, where I'm connecting with a lot of pilgrims, they're experiencing these things like much, much faster.
And some people instantaneously almost, right? It's like
incredible.
Seemingly, right.
It's so beautiful. And so what I wanted to share, or what I was guided to share with you, is also in alignment with what Mandy had said, in that it is all inside of us. And as a shamanic practitioner, we do, work with the earth, and we work with, the energies of the heavens. And we also work with the underworld and the middle world and the upper world. And the underworld it's our subconscious. It's not something external from us. And about, I think it was in 2017, I had pretty intense summer of healing, where that was where I really made a leap in self-love. And I had some very profound experiences in the underworld. I was guided to go several times to the underworld and do my own personal healing work. What I experienced.
Can
when
I
was
just stop you
guided-
for 1 minute with that, Blissa? Now, underworld, you don't mean,
means like
explain
it's
yes,
okay.
just so people
So-
understand a little bit what you're talking about. I don't want people to
Sure.
misinterpret what that meant.
It's so when we're working shamanically, we often do a lot of work in the underworld. So what the underworld is it's your deep subconscious. So in that space, say for instance, in your life, if you've had traumas where a little aspect of your soul no longer felt safe within the middle world or your functioning daily life, and you lose a soul piece, you don't actually lose it. It goes into your deep subconscious, and there it remains safe until you clear that, whatever the belief or the trauma was that made that aspect of yourself no longer safe to be present. So for instance, there's that. There's also, that's a place where you go in the shamanic work. You take a journey to the underworld,
And it was
the
really
practice-
your own self.
but it is your
Right.
own
Mhm.
deeper
Self,
subconscious
yes.
self.
It's not like we're going to Hades or something, everyone.
Absolutely not. And it is truly a place where as you do more and more in your life to become more and more of who you really are, it is a lush garden, but it becomes more and more incredible. And there's a guide. We work with a guide. Again, with shamanic work, there's a lot of, you work with guides. And the guide that I work with, Waskar, he took me, after I'd done some really deep work, to this aspect of my underworld, which was the fountain of youth. So I went and I laid in, and how it showed up for me was like an underground, it was like not underground, but it was like a stream. And there was a pool in the stream, and I was guided to lay in the pool. And when I laid in the pool, I felt this incredible love, but I also heard the sound that I know through when I was a very, very young teenager. I had a spiritual teacher who taught me, it's called knowledge, but it was 4 techniques of meditation, which included being able to see within the light of our divine selves, to listen and hear our divine selves, to taste and to sense our divine selves. So I heard my divine self completely, like it, for me, I hear almost like this, it's like an ocean. And I laid in this fountain of youth, and I heard it, I felt it, I saw the light, and I knew it was, there was this instant recognition. And then I was guided to go back several times, and I was really, I started bringing it more into my waking world. And I started to get this understanding that when we're in our divine selves, when we feel that aspect, that I am, that luminous aspect of ourselves, we're in that fountain of youth. So the more we can bring that into our daily lives, and perhaps, you know, any of us may see that light within, or hear, you know, some sound that is uniquely you, or taste it or sense it, and that is coming from within, but it is our own personal fountain of youth. And so that's what I was guided to share with the group today. And also, I would really recommend to anyone who's curious about the book, Anna, Grandmother of Jesus. It's so inspiring. It's such a beautiful, beautiful story, and it has so much wisdom and remembrance in it. I'm so grateful that I followed the guidance of listening to what you were saying, all of you,
Mandy
and
brought that up.
throughout these. such a good one.
Yeah, I'm happy
So-
she brought that up too. I found it interesting that so Anna, my grandmother Jesus, would have been in our time or timing or storytelling, like over 2,000 years ago. And of course, they were ascendant masters then, and there were probably maybe more, maybe fewer. I think there are more now coming right now. It's a new time of consciousness. But it's almost like Mandy had said earlier, it would take, or you had said too, Bliss, it took longer than it takes less time now. And I find it interesting that because part of the new consciousness is a realization who we are, a realization of some abilities we have. So even these things that they did years ago, we're now realizing that we have the capabilities to do. I think that's really exciting.
With you,
Yes,
I agree.
It feels so like, I know the book was written like almost 20 years ago, and reading it today, it could have been written in the last 6 months. Like, it's so
Indeed.
Based on what we know, right?
Meets us where we are. It's powerful.
It is it's very healing too. I found that it was very healing going through that process. And especially there's so much context around it too. The difficult times they were experiencing, very similar to now. I think that's probably why it feels so like it resonates.
I think so too. I think Sylvia, you wanted to add something to that, right? Sylvia has her hand raised.
Yes. Several thoughts actually. When Mandy described this process by which she's pulling up energy from the earth through the earth and through the crown, and then it flows over, the first thought I had was fountain of youth, an internal fountain of youth. And the second one was, well, that's a Taurus ring, right? Or Taurus field, which for me is like contains everything, and the dynamics of everything is about this Taurus field. So, up and down and over and out and through and under and all of that. So, so I appreciated the crossover between what Blissa had to say and what Mandy had to say. And I think what I'm going to add is very much in resonance with it, although the form is different. Mandy talked about new technologies, which can be very exciting. I'm not an anti-technology person. I've always been intrigued by technology, but I have to say in the last 2 or 3 years, working from home, over the last 18 months and so forth, my left brain has become so inundated. I really don't even want to look into technologies anymore, because it's like I don't want to have to figure out how to get from A to B to C to D. It's just like I want to get to F already, and then then I can just hit the ground. I don't want to fool around with this stuff. But that's not to say I'm not going to check out those things that you've mentioned, because I am intrigued. But what stood out to me in the descriptions and in my knowing is that what you described, Lissa, I think, about remembering that you have access to your divine self, and to know when you have really embodied your divine self or are in that field, Taurus field again. I experienced that through doing light language. And I would expect for many people, when they're channeling, they're in a state very much like that. I mean, light language is a form of channeling. But for myself, I can speak to light language more so than any other form of channeling, that I kind of get lost in the field that's coming through, that's being expressed, that's being conveyed, and it's a totally different dimension. And so when I hear about, a device that balances your, reharmonizes, or whatever the wording was that Mandy expressed. I feel like I find that happens for me when I bring forth light language.
Now that you've said that, when I get off, if I've been on the phone with my other, like now, I'll get off this phone call with you, I'll be with some fellow masters, and I'll be glowing. So I absolutely believe whatever that, and anytime we're connected, whether you're channeling through light language or connected to others, I believe it completely energizes and youthens us and renews our cells and refreshes us, and we're in a different state, and that we do have the choice to be in that state all the time. Not just when you're channeling, but you can choose to be in that state all the time. So I like that you brought that up, Sylvia. And sorry if I interrupted you.
Yeah. It's always there. You don't have to worry about powering it up or thinking about it. So that part I happen to like.
Although I do like the reminder part. I like when Mandy said that about reminder, because sometimes, I just get busy and I'll forget, oh yeah, I have this connection anytime I can go to. And sometimes if there's something like a mantra, or there's some sort of technical, whatever that devices or techniques that we individually use that reminds us to connect. I think that's an awesome thing. Some people use crystals, some people use nothing, some people use, these leading edge technologies, like some that she mentioned. So I know personally, I'm all for anything that reminds me to stay connected to my higher consciousness and my higher self, and to higher consciousness in general.
Well, I think, Sandy, what you're saying too, like coming together with, and whenever two or more are gathered, there will be that life, that God's energy is there within us, and we bring it out in one another, and we do step away and glow with the exchange, with the love of connecting on a higher frequency. And I think that's huge. And it's like we've lived in these lifestyles where we kind of have been sequestered away more and more in our lives. Maybe some of us don't even know our neighbors. And in that way, when we start to, and we've been forced to reach out to one another and connect. And it just brings this great reminder, bringing in that remembrance of who we really are.
Especially if there's only love, and pure light and pure love, then the more we connect, the more we're sometimes able to even experience that more fully in a physical form.
Yeah, I woke up the other night and I was really struggling from a meeting, like an exchange in a meeting that I'd had that day. And I go to meditation, and then I just asked for a message, and it was let it go, and it was coming in a lot of ways. And then and that was like, oh, of course, and yet, but what about, I was trying to figure it out. But then when I went to sending love, no longer trying to figure it out, just sending this particular person love, I was immediately at ease and able to fall back asleep. And I see that is also a way to get back into resonance right away. And then, when we're resonating within ourselves, we're rejuvenating. And it really is a powerful, powerful tool.
Yeah.
Something you said reminded me, I also had an exchange with someone this past week, and it irritated me, and I couldn't get myself beyond that, and I had all these really good reasons to be irritated, and the story, and it kept going, and I'm like, I don't want to do that, I don't want to be that. But again, tools, approaches, why am I giving this person my power to to be in this state of being. I was feeling so great before I get this text, and then I start to create this whole discomfort around it and irritation, and what should I do and what should I say and how should I handle it? And it's like, and I'm telling myself to let it go, but my human is caught up in the justification of it. And then it was like, I'm giving her my power. Thank you. She's showing me how I've given her my power. So perhaps this is in alignment, shall I say, Blissa, with the shamanic approach, but I called it back. It's like, for every time I've given away my power out of feeling justified and feeling wounded and feeling disrespected or whatever it is, and every time I made somebody else make me feel a certain way or trigger me to feeling a certain way, and I'm like, I'm taking it all back. I'm taking that all back.
Absolutely.
And
empowerment is key. Empowerment.
So that shifted everything.
So key. So key. And we don't get to experience that 5D experience when we're in disempowerment.
Right.
Like we really want to prioritize that. It looks like Troy has something.
Yeah, I think Troy, yeah. That's Troy.
Hi, there's something really powerful about what Sully just shared, because for me, it was a shift when someone suggested, it was a guy named Zach Reeder suggested, whenever we're getting, especially to those of us who are people pleasers, it is giving our power away all the time. But if we can shift it to literally saying, I give you permission. So for example, in the most difficult relationships you have, I give you permission not to understand me. I give you permission to reject me. I give you permission to misunderstand what I say and react to a message I never intended to communicate. I give you permission not to love me. I give you permission to be where you're at, even if I feel sad, misunderstood, unloved, frustrated, annoyed, and or angry because of what it brings up in me. There's something really powerful about that when we do that, because we retain our power. And I was also remembering that, and I don't know how true this is, but when we were born, the original DNA code of what it was going to create as an adult human being is still in us. And that DNA code is that human being at, at that age of maturity, 20, 25, et cetera. What is it that we can do? Like maybe Mandy said, these are some of the techniques, but if we can literally imagine and visualize this DNA code is now reactivated the way it was back then. The only thing having taken away from it is the collective unconscious beliefs in aging, the collective unconscious belief in, that time exists when it really doesn't. If we come to know that in our physical bodies, that it really doesn't need to be an element of it.
I love that, Troy. Exactly. Because I do truly believe that we're going to be getting, in addition to not buying into the concept of time as we have over time, as we have over the age, believe it in the concept of time, I think we're also going to be getting these DNA downloads too. I think we're going to be getting more information. Like I said, I always felt like this was a start, but that we're going to get more and more information. And Ahmet, I think you wanted to start our discussion.
Yes, thank you. Our bodies are incredible operating systems, and they can heal themselves. They can recover very fast. When you look at a very fantastic operating system, they should last very long time because they are incredible. But when you look at all of us, the lifespan of an average body lasts about 60, 70, 80, 90 years. So there's something not right here. So probably the main reason is we don't know our bodies. We don't know how our bodies are operating. We all vibrate. So we need to choose to vibrate low or vibrate high. If you vibrate high, you attract well-being. You get in touch with angelic realms and your higher self. But when you vibrate low, you attract illness and the other lower energies to you. You know, a couple of affirmations by the council. Choosing is very important. And the council says, I choose infinite abundance. I choose infinite love. I choose infinite well-being. I choose infinite wisdom. And council said that their favorite is actually the wisdom, choosing wisdom. So if you choose the wisdom, everything comes with it. The infinite well-being comes with it. The infinite abundance comes with it. Infinite love comes with it. So we need to choose infinite wisdom to know more about how our bodies operate. Same thing like asking help from the angelic realms. Most of us ask many times guidance and help from angelic realms, but sometimes we don't receive it because we do not vibrate on the same level like they do. The angels, they vibrate very high. And when we are in a sad situation, we vibrate very low and we ask their help. So they are up here, we are right down here. So we don't really get the match. The same thing if you don't want to stay, if you want to stay from any sickness. So we need to vibrate high to keep our body stronger and stay away from those sickness. So,
which I love that, Ahmet, and I think everyone on this call absolutely agrees with that. But can you say more about, for someone who maybe doesn't understand how you increase your vibration, how would one do that?
Yeah, there are, but personally, I have a couple of techniques how I overcome that. Today I felt not well a couple of hours. My neck was hurting me and I felt dizzy. And I reminded myself, this is not supposed to be like this. If I'm a master, I can overcome this. So I have to change something here. So reminding ourselves who we are and right away, that's the first thing. And then the second one is let our bodies to heal themselves. We don't really let our bodies to heal themselves. We really push them very, very hard. We worry about the future. We regress about the past. We don't really let them rest and heal. So the second one is to really, talk to our bodies, trying to understand what they are telling us. So our bodies are our best friends. So, all of us have very good friends and we talk to them, we keep communicate with them. So same thing we should do, just talk to our bodies and keep your vibration high. And then try to remember who we really are. And there's another thing, so.
And I like that too. And I think that's exactly what when Sylvia brought up earlier, like when the light language and when some of us do our channeling or when we're connected or when we're just choosing to be in vibration, we're rising, or that's how, ways that we raise our vibration as well. So.
And another thing I might add, it's magical that I learned from the council. When you feel something is not right with your life, doesn't matter if it's a financial situation, doesn't matter health situation or love relationship, just take 3 deep breaths. They take care of everything.
I agree. That's actually how I even get into when I do channeling. I actually take 3 deep breaths. That's how I get into, I choose first, that's what I'm doing. I communicate that I'm going to higher self, and I take 3 deep breaths, and then, you know, they're magical. You can almost get into immediately. So.
I would say too, it's amazing that the most profound and useful techniques are always the simplest. It's like breathing is huge in getting us back to ourselves. And, you know, I was told that when I was a little girl, but what does it mean until you experience it? And then it's so powerful and simple.
Yeah.
That's the deceptive part.
Around here. Oh, there we go. The boxes move when somebody, so I'm like, oh, I'm unmuting myself and it's someone else. I'm actually in a hotel room and the air conditioning came on, so I'm trying to keep that sound out. So I apologize about that. Troy, you had something you were wanted to say, and
Yeah,
yeah.
this is a what if. I mean, this
Okay.
just came to me, but I just want to throw out a what if. I'm imagining as if, like I said earlier, like the original DNA that had that perfect body for us, that is like the original. And imagine over the years, what we do is we produce a copy like a Xerox, and then we do a copy of a copy, and then a copy of a copy of a copy. And each time we do that Xerox, that copy of the copy adds fear, adds a belief system, adds so many things. And we're then looking to the copy of the copy of the copy of the copy to reproduce all of our cells in our body. What if, and there's no doubt in my mind as I ask this question, that we can consciously go back to the original code. And instead of looking to the copy of the copy of the copy of the copy, that we can help direct the intelligence of our body to look back to the original.
Troy, literally, when you said that, my breath stopped, like in a good way. Like I got chills, but it was even more than that. Just like rang so much. Like when you said that, it just rang like truth to me in the moment you said that. That was like pure truth.
That's how it felt. Like my whole body just filled with warmth as I said it. So
yeah, absolutely.
I felt that too. The divine blueprint.
Yeah, actually,
indeed.
Yeah, Troy, actually, why don't you repeat that one more time if you can remember how you said that?
Yeah.
Okay, just imagine.
One more time.
Imagine that what came with us was this perfect blueprint for our body to replicate each day in our cells up until it became an adult body. And that was perfect because in the first little while, it was allowed to. We had some mistakes, but the copies were really clean then. But then with all the things that happened, with all the trauma, with all the fear, we make copies of copies of copies of copies. Plus you add the collective beliefs that we are aging, the collective beliefs that we're getting sicker, all that. So that when our body is looking to this copy of a copy of a copy of a copy to say, well, that's how we reproduce. Well, what if we can consciously work with our body to look back to the original blueprint and have it turn to the blueprint by which to reproduce our system?
I've actually heard some spiritual teachers point to a specific area of the body and have a name for that, like imagery is how I guess I might describe what you just offered, Troy, which is so wonderful. And it's like an original cell or original, strand of DNA, the first spark of you as a physical entity. And I wish I remember precisely what they called it, but it was, in the peritoneum, not the I forget the name of the point exactly, but where you do Kegel exercises, that are key to things like Reiki and many other techniques, that is where that original point can be found energetically, at least.
Yeah, and you could even look at that from your different, oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? The red, purple, yellow, the different chakras from your different chakras. You have a root chakra. And it also reminded me too of what Ahmet had said last week about, I think it was last week, he may have said it the week before, when Ahmet mentioned about we're unique and that he's going towards being like when you were born. So, sorry, that was the timer. Anyway, so what Ahmet had said a couple weeks ago, I think, about going back to your original, using. So if you're going back to the original cell, that's almost the same thing, the original cell we came with. And I think Troy met even before we were born, probably too, but well, in physical bodies now, but it did remind me going back to what Ahmet had said before about youthening. So there's something I wanted to possibly share with you guys too, and to share on the call. So with the permission of, Mike Dooley, he's the one that thoughts become things. A lot of people know who he is. And Sarah Landon, who we've mentioned before, they did a recent series for a four-part class, which was called The Art of Channeling, which people could, I think they may be repeating in the future, but they just did it recently. And during part of that, Sarah would also bring in counsel and do some channelings, and Mike Dooley would ask her some questions as part of this. And there was an excerpt that I actually did a recording that I wanted to play because I thought it was appropriate for this. So I'm just going to, it's about a minute long. I'm going to play it quickly. And then if anybody wants to add anything to this, I think it just supports what we've been saying as well.
You've evolved beyond that in this lifetime in many, many ways. So here's what's possible for you. You can live in your heaven on earth in the highest state of consciousness, the highest vibration of pure love and joy, living your life to the fullest, with longevity, with vitality, feeling youthful and alive and energized for every single day and moment of your life, until the inspiration comes to you that it is time to move on to a new journey and to release the density of the body and continue your adventure into higher levels of consciousness. You would then, over the course of a few days or a few weeks, go through the most beautiful transformational process of elevating your vibration until the moment you take your last breath and very peacefully release the density of the body to continue on your journey into higher dimensions of consciousness in the most peaceful, loving, blissful way. No one on this planet has to contract with any disease in order to make their transition and continue their adventure into higher levels of consciousness. But the more of you who make your transition in this beautiful, blissful, harmonious, empowered, inspired way, the more you will help humanity remember that that way is possible for them too. And you will alleviate or eliminate the diseases and cancers and all of these things on your planet in a very short period of time.
So I wanted to, like
Wow.
I said, that was from my Art of Channeling class that Mike Dooley and Sarah Landon did together, and that was Sarah Landon channeling the council. So I thought that was appropriate. That was just recorded like 2 weeks ago by them. Actually, it was live, but that's part of the recording. So it was pretty fresh. So I thought our audience might like to hear that.
Very
In the shamanic work, conscious dying is really, and also coming back to that divine blueprint, clearing away, like what Troy was saying. I love the image and the metaphor that Troy created to describe what it is we're doing, like on this journey of clearing away those pieces. And now the council tells us that we simply can just raise our vibration and clear it that way and experience life from that place. But all of these different ways, they lead, all roads lead to Rome. And and I speak of that meaning, to this place of really high consciousness and conscious living and conscious dying, and really embracing all that we are. And so I love the multitude of perspectives that bring us to that place.
I love that too. Perfectly said, Blissa. Thank you. Does anybody want to add anything else? We're pretty much at the end of our time, but anybody has something they
Sounds
want to
like
add?
the perfect way to conclude a discussion on aging.
I actually thought so too. I thought Blissa's summation too was very, very well said.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Blissa.
Yes.
That was great.
Oh,
Yes, Mandy, did you want to say something?
No, I just want to say that was beautiful as well. And I love that. And I do feel, I felt like this roughly in July timeframe about almost the death of the human body, the death of the human experience as we know it, and how powerful that has been. And the guidance that came through even in July says, every part of the human body is transforming. There's almost a shedding of the human vessel that we identify with. Not quite as drastic as that might sound, but it is all changing. And so perhaps we might even grieve a little bit of this old going away, but this has been so magical. And I feel like even, this very first session that we had together brought up so many little, nuggets of old beliefs that I had that I've processed through in the last 4 weeks, Sandy. So I just want you to know how powerful this has been. And I think we all have felt this in our own journey and really going deeper into the human experience because we are becoming this new human. This is really exciting. So thank you for helping. I feel like this was a very healing experience for me to be on this. So thank you.
Yes.
thank you so much, Sandy, for putting this together and living so boldly. I'm very inspired by you creating this and what has come forth. I didn't feel I had much to say on it, but obviously I can find much to say on, well, a lot of things. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to you and to everyone for this community experience. It's very, very powerful for me.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to you all because it's just been a gift to be with you all, such a gift, and to get to learn more from you all and share your wisdom. So thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
For
Always
having
been
us.
beautiful.
Thank
It's
you.
been awesome.
Thank you all.